Oh, all right. Hi, people. Well, it's been a while. Yeah. How long has it been since the last live stream? I know quite a few of you have been waiting for one of these, and I've got quite a few reasons to do one. But it has been a while. So how are we all today? We are streaming at the ungodly hour of what 1:30 a.m. Thankfully, it's school holidays, so I'm not sleeping anytime soon. Though I do want to maintain some semblance of normality. But hi to everyone. It has been a long time. It feels like it. I suppose I'll start off by saying that I will be doing a Q&A, the Archery Q&A, this week, I guess. This is the last week of the month, as we normally do. And I do have enough content to cover another form check. That will be coming up in the next couple of weeks. I've got some time off from work. Some of the time was spent resting, some will be spent training. But I do want to spend some time covering some new content, and I'm taking a few requests as we go along. But the focus for this video is a reflection. I think the last reflection video was from July. That was a really long time ago, and it feels like every reflection video is about getting back into archery for some reason. That seems to be the trend. For those who are new to the channel, haven't seen one of these, the reflection series is meant to be a look back at major events. I like to do one of these after a competition, and I share what I've learned about the sport and myself, and I'm sharing my experience with you to help you kind of scope out mentally the archery side of things, the mental and technical sides. And I had a really good event, not yesterday, but the day before. So I'm still recovering. Had a few issues, but really enjoyed myself, which is unusual. I normally feel stressed out, or at least relieved, but enjoyment is something that's been quite elusive, and I've actually achieved that. So I want to talk about my last tournament. I also want to talk about the things behind that, as well as some really cool things which I got from it as well. So let's talk about the event. So the event was the Moorabbin Shield at Moorabbin Archery Club. It's the annual target event, normally 70-meter round. This particular event has some sentimental value for me because this was my very first event which I shot 5 years ago, and I've done it nearly every year since. I passed last year due to the my club being suspended, so I had no preparation for it, didn't really feel like it. So it's been nearly a year since I last shot a proper competition. Now, I did shoot a state championship earlier this year, but I didn't prep for that, and I was kind of half injured, so that wasn't really worth mentioning. So it's been a year since my last proper competition. And coming back, it was a strange feeling because um, normally when I do my event preparation, I get a lot of anxiety, especially since I don't shoot long distance a lot. I'll talk about a few things in the stream about that sort of thing. I also have a new bow, so it's mostly tuned now, but I haven't shot that at long distance either. So you could say I wasn't that fully prepared. But I actually went into competition with very simple goals, and as a result, I actually did, I won't say well, but not as bad as I thought I would, and in fact a lot better than I thought I would. So we'll break this video down to several parts. I've already put about a checklist of things to talk about, so don't sidetrack too much. So I'll talk about the lead up to the event, my expectations or lack thereof, my focal points, the results, which are not that important but worth mentioning, and kind of something a little bonus and on top of that, something which I didn't really expect but happened anyway. So let's talk about these things one at a time. By the way, hi chat. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just going through my checklist. Packs. I have an interesting thing to say about War Thunder. Perhaps not now, but I don't know. It may be the beginning of the end for me anyway. because they're changing the system of War Thunder, and I'm not getting stuff. Let's put it that way. I'm getting stuff, but not the stuff I want to cover. So anyway, let's fix more important things right now. So, the lead up to the event. So normally for competition, you spend, I don't know, for people who do competitive shooting, competition is a regular event. You do one every week, a couple of weeks, and if there's no major one because the season's out, then you probably do some club competition. All right, so for most archers in the club scene, in the competitive scene, you will probably doing regular shooting a lot of the time. For me, it's a little different. Our club is, I've mentioned this a few times, it's a very social club. And it's hard to say this without a negative connotation. But I think a few people will recognize some of the difficulties in the club environment. So when you get a lot of casual shooters, filthy casuals. No. When you get a lot of casual shooters who turn up like once a week on a Saturday morning, and they don't turn up to any events, and so on, well, you can't enforce them to. And the whole idea is you do archery the way you want to. And if all you want to do is turn up and have a shot, then there's no point in enticing people to be competitive. But the difficulty is that when you don't have enough people to actually run the event, then many people simply don't get a chance to firstly try to be competitive or try to shoot more than 10 or 20 meters, or don't have that foundation where they can actually achieve competency, which is a point I mentioned later on, because this was a 70-meter event. It was a Brisbane round, so it went from 70 to 60 meters on the large face, to 50 and 40 meters on the smaller face, the 87 meter face. So it was a pretty moderate challenge, and it's a pretty good cross section of both long and mid distance shooting on large and smaller target faces. And that sort of thing is pretty basic or standard for most experienced archers. But my progression's a little different because, again, because the club doesn't shoot past 30 meters most of the time. It's very hard to get any practice in because people don't stick around for it. No event to use it, so it's a little demotivating at club level. So you really need to be pushing yourself to go beyond that, to get that experience and confidence. And I haven't been doing that for the last year. So that's my long term background. Now, short term, as most of you know, I'm a teacher. And this just been quite exceptional in the workload, in terms of volunteering for school programs and other stuff. I'll talk about this different time, but lots of late nights at school, let's put it that way. Like, you think teachers have it easy for school holidays. I mean, when you stay back at school with school events like, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, then PM, by the way, then a holidays is not really a holiday, it's more of a catch-up. And I've been trying to recover from that. And the end of term has been physically hard. I got ill on the last week of school, just last week. So I spent the week, instead of training and preparing, I was just getting over an illness. So lots of sleeping in, really no training, and really went to the competition on the mend, but not fully recovered. So that was something that was in the back of my mind. Wasn't sure if my stamina would hold up, and that was stamina's always been a problem for me with archery. So that was one thing there. I also on the day I had an attack of gout. I had a wasn't a bad one, but my big toe, my right foot was inflamed, and walking was not easy. Let's put it that way. And of course, if you have like a foot injury or something, when you find ways to kind of like dawdle along, but at the same time you stress other parts of your foot or your leg. So if your foot hurts, then you end up straining your ankles or your tendons because it's more pressure and stress on them. So kind of like built up over the day. So it was quite difficult, not impossible, but considering that so much of good archery form relies on foundation and foot position, and getting the right feeling when it actually hurt to stand, that didn't really help my shot process. So I spent the last day just like lying in bed, just resting my feet, because that was actually really agonizing. But all these are small excuses, and in the end, it was just you in the shot. So, the lead up was that I didn't get enough practice in for the most part. I did on the Saturday finally get my sight settings for 70 meters, because remember I do have a new bow, the Chaser Python, and I spent the last month or two tuning it and shooting with it. And it's getting pretty good now. I'm really enjoying the bow. People keep asking, is the Chaser Python good? Yes, it is. Really liking the riser. So the bow's looking really good. I haven't had much chance to shoot outdoors, and there's been some interruptions in the club schedule due to other events planned or scheduled for the field. So we've missed out on a few days of shooting. Some bad weather kicked in, illness, injury. But I finally got sight settings, and I decided to shoot a club round because the people turned up. And it's like I said, it's so rare for people to turn up to shoot a round that when people did turn up, I thought, well, I'm not going to waste it. It was a nice day, I'll stick around. And I wanted to get some conditioning in. You don't condition the day before an event. Like, you condition before that, not during the event or before the event. That was really bad. So I came up feeling a little sore. There wasn't crippling sore, and I'm glad that by the end of the day I didn't actually like fatigue all the way out, which is a big problem I have in general. So that problem solved itself. I shot. I'm glad I did, because there were two things which happened. One, I had a lot of technical problems in terms of my equipment. My wrist especially had problems. The arrow rest, the arm on my Shibuya actually snapped. So luckily I had a spare Shibuya wrist, and I replaced the arm with that one, not the whole wrist, but just the arm. And unfortunately that meant that because the wrist had been sagging all along, that my sight settings were off, because, well, now I've got a new wrist which is actually staying upright. But I'm glad that happened, and then it flew off. The whole wrist is like bing, and the adhesive just failed. And I had to get some double-sided tape and put it back on. I'm glad it happened on practice, not during the event. So it was a mixed blessing there, or blessing in disguise rather. So it's really good to see, really unfortunate, but also good to see all the bad things happen right away. I had a few issues with my sight coming loose, but I fixed that with a bit of glue, a bit of string wax to just to add some clag to the threads to slow down the vibration. But that was manageable. So we shot on Saturday, got my sight settings, and I guess the most important thing I came across was just the mentality, the mindset of shooting. And this will lead into the next point very soon. So in shooting long distance, and especially shooting a lot of short distance in practice, I was becoming more and more conscious and focused on my expansion, back tension release, because that's what's been plaguing me a lot. It's funny because Jason, who's shooting with me, pointed this out on the day, and coincidentally, I've been working it specifically. I have a habit called fake back tension, where I don't really power through with my back correctly, especially now shooting trad. I'm getting a little lazy in my shot process, so I can tend to collapse a bit more and have a really limp follow through. So I've been trying to focus more on pushing through the shot. So in setting it up, what I'm trying to do is I get them a full draw, get tension back, and just power it through. I'll be doing a topic on this later on. Talk about being aggressive, because a lot of people, especially like me, we tend to be a little too soft on the shot. So we get the full draw and we just wait there. It's always been a problem of mine, just hang on to the shot forever. The rest, what you're supposed to do is line the sight up, anchor, and then push the rest of the way through. You push the shot out. It's meant to be push-pull, but in our archery mindset, we're already pulling, so it's meant to push out, so your chest opens up. You're meant to really feel that expansion, and therefore you get that openness, that open feeling. So that's the that's what I'm trying to do, was to basically line up there and power it through. It's easy to say when you're not holding a bow, you're not aiming at targets, but what you do in practice, whether it's blind bow shooting or close range shooting, and just going through the motions of, anchor, expand, the same thing should be done at long distance on a smaller target. It's the exact same process. Now, I always say this. I always say that if you can shoot the same way at 30 meters as you do at 70 meters, it'll be the same result, minus the spread. But the technique doesn't change. Now, your hip alignment might, but your technique doesn't change, and that was really what it was. Here, anchor in, push out, and expand. So that's what I was working on. Hey Jason, I was just mentioning you actually. What are you doing up at this time? It's like 1:40 a.m. I should say the same about me too. So yeah, I was specifically talking about back tension. So, while I almost regretted shooting on the Saturday, the day before, what it did get me to focus on was just the back tension part. I didn't shoot my best in the practice. I shot pretty average, which is okay. That was exactly the point. It was just to maintain average. And I just focused on that one thing then. Just focused on that one thing. The other thing I was trying to focus on was my sight alignment, or my string picture rather, because I don't have that perfect kind of like line on the sight there. I actually feel very comfortable slightly inwards, just very slightly. So my very bright orange string almost touches the fiber in my sight. So that's how I know with the right sight alignment. Otherwise, I get a little fuzzy on the aperture. But that's when I found my most comfortable sight alignment. So I did acquire that, which is fantastic. So basically, my training beforehand was to get that alignment there. So it's almost touching the fiber, and then pushing through and committing to the shot. That's really what it was. Was finding the commitment to the shot and not kind of like chickening out in the last millisecond when you're at your full draw. So that was what I reached at practice. So when it came to the actual day, I think my second part here. So on the day itself, on the competition day, I really had no expectations. Like I didn't expect to win. That wasn't really the goal. I expected to come in the bottom half of the field. I really had no intention to, shoot above my average. And normally competition you should be below your average because you get freaked out, you psych yourself out. So it's a little it can be demotivating sometimes, but at the same time it's also motivating, because if you shoot at your average as you practice, then you've met your goal. And that's what I want to do was, look, it's 70 meters, so on. I didn't expect to shoot exceptionally high, and I just want to hit the target. So I had simple goals. Goal number one, I do apologize for the background noise. Goal number one was to not miss at 70 meters, and I didn't actually. There were a few misses in the sighting ends because my sight settings were a little different on the day. Basically, because the field was slightly different, and also I might have touched my sight and I moved the aperture or something, so I was actually way off. I was aiming 9 o'clock on the Y to hit the middle, but it was very consistent across every distance. So that was actually surprising, but I probably should have fixed my sight sooner. But I had that sweet spot. I didn't want to touch it, so let's just leave it there. So they were shooting just fine. So I didn't miss at a long distance. In fact, after the sighting ends, I kept all my targets on the board. Now, I did have some misses on the small target because smaller target face is more board to hit. So there were some sprayed shots which went off the target face, but stayed on the target butt, thankfully. There's more problem at 50 meters for some reason. But overall, I didn't actually do the walk of shame. That was actually really really good. The second thing I wanted to achieve was to have a grouping at least once, and that was also something that was an achievement. And the third thing I wanted to achieve was to not get tired. And I said before that stamina has always been a problem. I've lowered my draw weight from 40 pound to 36, and for me it's about 33 in the fingers now with the limbs. But I normally get really fatigued because my shoulder comes up because of a lot of like problems, elbow rotation, bad hip alignment, so on. So I have problems with that. That's one thing. But I last the entire day without feeling tired. Of course, after about 120 shots, you feel the burn. So the burn is real, but the fatigue wasn't there. Yeah, that hit afterwards. So I shot just as well in my final few ends as I did in the first few, and that's really the goal for any round is to shoot your last arrow the way you shoot your first arrow. In fact, I'm shooting better towards the end. I felt more relaxed, I felt more warmed up, had fewer expectations, and since I hit my goals very early, I was kind of like, oh, cool. In fact, I set a bonus goal to myself here. I'll show this later to you, but I did have a bonus goal, which I did hit. Funny enough, I'm trying to open it up at the moment. Let me try and grab what it was because it was actually a really funny goal, which I set halfway through. And I'll show this to you. Here it is. Good. All right. I'll flash this a bit later on screen. So that's the rundown of the event so far. So I had a pretty patchy preparation, but it got me into the right mindset. I didn't have any expectations apart from that simple don't miss at 70 meters, get a grouping at least once, and just really just enjoy the day, just flinging arrows. Because again, normally I get stressed out with competition. And I don't enjoy it as much, which is why I don't do a lot of it. But today the other day rather, it was just really relaxing. I just felt like I was just flinging arrows and enjoying myself. I noticed a lot more positive self-talk when I was doing okay shots. I mean, it looked okay from my end. And when I walked, it's kind of, it wasn't quite there. But I was generally feeling better shots. So there's a more positive self-talk happening there. I still got a lot of work to do on the back tension. But that was that was the only thing I was focused on. And even now, I just realized that that's very different to what I normally do. And I normally care about the score too much. This time I didn't care about the score. I didn't care what I hit, as long as I just feel the right back tension, getting the anchor push, and I was getting it most of the time decently well. And over time and refinement, that will get better and more comfortable. And I haven't really done this properly for like nearly a year. Just picking it up again just felt really good. So that was the my goal was very simple. There was nothing too complex. It wasn't a score. It was more of a feeling, and I maintained that for the whole day. Again, I didn't shoot well, but I didn't shoot poorly. Now I'm gonna flash my scorecard. This is really nothing worth mentioning. This really isn't worth mentioning, but I want to just talk about this just because it's kind of funny. So this is the scorecard. So again, it's not anything to write home about. There's a lot of patchiness here, but there are some moments of like, oh yeah, that was okay. Some moments of hilarity. So 70 meters. I actually do pretty poorly at 70 because I never practice 70 because no club shoots 70 meters except for one guy, Noah, who came second the whole event actually. He did pretty well for the whole day, but he's a very experienced shooter. I'm a relatively new shooter compared to him. But this is funny because this is actually a personal best at 70 meters. Didn't realize this until after the event. So my goal was to not miss, and I didn't miss. A few really odd shots, some stray arrows, highs. I flung a few to the right. I noticed that my sight was way off, so I had a right drift most of the time. But for the most part, I was not that bad. It wasn't much of a shotgun. One of the hard things when looking at scorecards, the scorecard doesn't tell the story. The scorecard tells the score. One of the things which you really want to look for is groupings and patterns, and if there was no grouping, I'd probably feel a bit more aggravated. It would kind of get to me a bit more. So in looking at this scorecard, I know from what I saw that this was actually not as bad as it looks. And this is more apparent at the 60 meter distance on the big face. It's hard to see groupings. Like this could mean like if you got like 8, 8, 8, 7, 7, this sort of thing could mean that I got a very big dispersion on target, or I grouped in the wrong area. For example, I know some of these ones are grouped like this one here, the 28 end here. That was actually a grouping, just low and to the right. But it was a grouping, whereas some of the other ones were a bit more splotchy. Stuff like this, when you get like 10s and 9s, that's definitely a grouping because you can't group and get golds. So you can't not group and get golds. A gold inherently means you're grouping somewhere. And this is a pretty good opening for me. Not my finest, especially 60 meters. I normally should beat 60 meters. I should expect 200 plus. Considering I'm coming back from form, this was to be expected. So I normally should be below my average in these circumstances. But I could have done better. But that was surprisingly good for 70 meters for me. I think I would normally average probably like 15 points below this. I think because the last time I shot 70 meters, it was a, gee, I don't know. I can't remember the last time I shot 70 meters. But I did beat my personal record. I might flash my thing later too, but that was my 70 meter. So I had one decent end. The last end was the best one. That was I came out feeling really good. Had a few erratic ends. I mean, mid-30s is about what I average in 70 meters. But the 44 was a huge jump up there. So that felt really good. The last end, I dialed it in. Would have been nice to get golds, but that was a pretty nice plus. And again, you don't compare yourself to other people. You compare yourself to yourself. And considering that the whole thing was like 30 average, then bang 44, that was a nice finish. That felt really strong there. And then we got to the 60 meters, and that was okay too. I was a little stuck on the sight setting because again it was slightly off from my own range. I wasn't sure what to trust, so I decided to go with the offset sight setting, and the first end was pretty decent. And the middles were average, but you know, just maintain the process and flow, not panicking, not being too negative. And the last end was nice. Gonna find a nice gold grouping. I got a 45, which is okay. So started okay, finished okay, especially the finish. You always want to finish okay. And then we had an hour lunch break and we came back, and this was a sight setting error. That kind of really chucked everything out because I was doing okay for the whole day, and then I got an 11. That was a sight setting error. I said before that the sight setting felt a little off. My 70 meter and 60 meter sight settings were a little different to what I normally do. So I thought I'll keep the same offset, and I had a very nice grouping in the black. That was a little disappointing for me. But again, I wasn't competing for the place. I was just, shooting for fun. So I thought, well, I grouped, that happened, so we'll change the sight setting afterwards. Okay. Bear in mind, smaller target face. So the 50 meter target size on a small face is the same as 70 meters, but it's kind of a little harder. So it's a little different to sight this. Had a few more stray arrows, and a small target means that a stray arrow will cost you more. So that was a little disappointing, but had a few good decent arrows, spread a few in the blues, and had a couple of bad ends. So unlike the other distances, started weak, finished weak. But overall, it's okay. I didn't mind too much at 50 meters. That's my bugbear. And 40 meters is a bit more comfortable, as you can see, obviously. Got a lot more consistent. Obviously, it's close, as we all did. A few flies in the whites, which at the end of the day is pretty expected. But a decent comeback, actually. So I've went from averaging from like 30s to 30s to 40s actually. So I had a pretty poor end, the second last one. I kind of threw that one out pretty badly. But I finished okay. So 41, 46, 44, 35, yuck, and 45, which is, again, pretty average for me. Not my finest 40-meter round or distance, but it's okay. I could have done a bit better. So overall, 714, which for this round, I've only shot this round twice, actually. And this is actually a personal best, which, again, I didn't plan for this. I didn't expect this, but considering I had no expectations coming into this, it was actually really rewarding to get a score which actually counted for something. Didn't expect to do anywhere near as good as anybody else. So the placement finally was, where am I? So I was 7th. James didn't shoot, so he didn't count. He'll be like first place if it wasn't for if he didn't sit out. But the funny thing was, I was actually chasing after Adam. I'm pretty sure Adam's watching this at some point, but at the first point, in fact, I might drop back to the actually no, I can't see it now. There is a way to show this to you, but I can't see it right now. But the thing that happened was when I checked after the first 2 ends, Ning, this was his first competition. He's machining for 3 months, and he's on my views as well, so it's nice to see him shoot. So this is his first competition. He's machining for 3 months, doing a 70-meter competition. That's a really good result for him. He should be pretty happy with that. And of course, everybody else is a veteran shooter. Some of these guys have been shooting for about at least a year to 10 years. So these guys are doing really well. But you set yourself personal goals. So my personal goal was to go for Adam. If you're watching this, Adam, nothing personal. But I just happened to see that at the end of the 60-meter distance, you were 1 point ahead of me. So I'm just 1 point behind everyone. Hang on, I'm not going to be dead last. I mean, obviously, if Ning being the first time shooter, I thought, well, I'm 50 points above him. Unless I really trash my round, I'll be ahead of him. But Adam was the funny one because I wanted to at least get the 1 point back. So when we got to the 50-meter distance, I threw it badly, man. And an 11 end. That was horrific. That kind of threw me away there. I mean, I didn't feel bad about it, but I thought, oh well, there goes my my 7th place finish. So that was funny. But at that point, if I can see a scorecard, I think I can, because we were so close all the way through. So that's it wasn't that close. It was at 70 meters. Sorry, by the way, I'm sorry, Adam, to use you here. Just that you were my personal goal for the day. So I think you were shooting much more consistently at the longer distance. I mean, I was trash. Oh, were we that different? We were pretty close. I mean, we were 167. I was 167. You were 165. I was ahead of you for the first distance, and then I dropped a few points in the second distance. So by the end, Adam was 1 point ahead. Now I thought I threw this away, but now looking at the scorecard. 154, 147 is actually pretty close. So I didn't chuck it away as much as I thought I did. Man, average of 2 points an hour. That's horrible. What happened here? I think I scored one bad end. Yeah, it wasn't that far off. But then towards the end, I really climbed back. I think that was what surprised me was I think I was like 15 points off, and then the last distance, I clawed back with a significantly higher average. I mean, that was a really good show from Adam there. But a couple of bad shots, but I had bad shots too. But I actually caught up by the end, and by that point I was 4 points ahead. So that was that fist pump moment. It's kind of like, well, you don't expect to beat people, but I'm like, yes, whoa. So I was pretty happy with finishing the round on a high. I really enjoyed myself. But seeing the score, I'm seeing Adam's score, seeing my score, I'm like, hang on, that was supposed to happen. So there we go. We actually achieved something. So honestly, that was my personal goal. I had the main goal was to just enjoy myself, just shoot the round, get the feeling, don't care about the score. And I didn't care about the score. I didn't look at it. I didn't double check it. I did the scoring, but I never remember the score. So I had no memory of the score at all. I just shot, and that's probably the hardest thing for an archer is to sorry, I've touched my let's try that again. So I've actually touched my camera, and for some reason my cable's really sensitive now. Let me try this again. Bing. Okay, I'm alive now. That was a really weird freeze frame there. I'm still happening. I think I spilled juice on my camera a while ago, so I'm trying to like get it to work. If I touch it a certain way, it kind of goes off on me, and I think it's on now. Good. So yeah, like one of the hardest things for an archer is to let go of the score, because arrow by arrow, end by end, you should be getting a certain score, and when you don't get it, it really starts to eat away. I think that's the thing we're taking away from this. And the fact that I completely ignored my score, even at a state competition, ignoring the score completely felt great. Like I just didn't care, and I think that was the biggest difference this time around. Was I just didn't really care about the score. Just being realistic. Archery, just by the way, is my usual watermelon, apple, raspberry. Yeah, it was surprisingly fun. I shouldn't be surprised, but again, a lot of people, and I'm one of them, like we get too serious about it, especially when we don't meet the same commitments. Like for me, I feel it's a systemic thing, right? I know there's always room for individual skill, talent, and brilliance, but archery is a product of training, like with most sports, right? If you put the time in to train and practice, then you should expect higher results. If you don't put in time to practice and train, you shouldn't expect spectacularly high results. And that's what I was going through. I think for most of my archery career, I've been having this naive belief that I can do really well in a competition and therefore prove that I'm good as everybody else. But I don't put anywhere near the same amount of time as anybody else. Like, I mean, Jason in chat right now, for example, shoots like probably five times more than I do. So is he scored 5 times better than 9? Yeah, probably he was. But that's the point exactly. The people who train more should expect to see better results, and the people who don't train as much should have realistic expectations. If you're new to the sport and you don't practice as much, then I mean, what I got is what I expect I should get without proper training or without the time and commitment. And the fact that I shot my average, my rating was a 50.9 that time around, which is exactly on my average. So normally I shoot worse than what I normally do, but I shot exactly as I normally did. And to me, that's another personal win. It wasn't that I was struggling with the day. I was actually doing pretty well, all things considered, for my standard and my rating. And again, you don't compare yourself with other people. It's about what you do for yourself. You're facing yourself as the opponent, not anybody else. And that was what I got out of it. It was a really nice event for me. I'm gonna show something very quickly. Again, I just checked the screen randomly. I thought it was really funny that I got personal best. I didn't think I was shooting way below what I normally do, but I think I shot the round twice. So my best Brisbane round was that round. That was actually I averaged 6 points per hour. Okay. It's actually a personal best. I didn't realize that. At the distance, that was a personal best there, which is quite interesting. The last time I shot a 70 meter was at a club round, and it was like a 4.42 per arrow. So that's actually a pretty big jump for my standards. So that's pretty funny. I just got more in 30 arrows than did 36 arrows, and there's so much room for improvement. But that's the thing, like, I'm not disappointed in this. This is actually what I expect. And the fact that there's so much room to do better, like just small things like getting the sight string picture right, getting the anchor point right, that sort of thing is easy to fix, and all needs to spend a bit more time doing so. That's quite funny, but I really enjoyed that personal best there. And like I said, I think I've only shot this round twice. My events. If I look for Brisbane, the last time I shot this, I think it was actually in the same event. So Brisbane, this was what, 2 years ago, at the same event. And I shot a 676 for 48.2 rating. So considering in 2 years, actually, and the first time was in the same event. This is the first time I shot the event. So this one, the Holdsworth, I actually shot the 2014. This is before Archer started, so I don't have a record of that. I have it somewhere, but the second time I shot the event, was 565, and then I shot the event the following year for 676. Oh, I remember now. Yeah, I wanted to join. Oh, I just realized I hit a milestone. I didn't realize this. Oh, that's cool. So my personal milestone for this event was to reach the 700 club, right? So like, I mean, on a good day, a good archer will shoot 1,000 plus out of 1,200. 900 plus, if you're having a bad day is a good archer, or a good day is a bad archer. 900 plus is to be expected, but I want to climb to hundreds, right? So my first event was like 500, and then I wanted to join the 600 club, and I did the following year. And I wanted to join the 700 club afterwards, and I didn't shoot this event again for quite a while. And then I came back to where, bang, 700. Wow, I didn't know that. Hey, personal milestones. That is cool. That's a lot of things to improve on. You can see, like, generally, I'm hovering on 50s on my ratings. Had one exceptional one, but 30 meters is a bit of a joke anyway, so that's not really important. But I'm hitting my average. And remember, I changed my whole bow. So, I should expect this. Anyway, that's my reflection for most of my personal performance. The thing which I really enjoyed the most on the day is actually not about me, it's about everybody else. Because I haven't done competition for years. And in the years I haven't been around the competition scene, like a lot of people done archery. And for those who follow my social media, I've made a few blog posts, and the thing which really impressed me was just the number of people who started archery watching me. Maybe not because of me, but just watching me and learning again the basics from the beginning. So I had like a dozen people so on the day, just hanging around, having a chat. Kind of like I don't know most of these people, but most people know me, and that's to be expected now. But that's the thing, right? Like years ago, I'm like the anomaly where I've made a few videos. Now nearly everyone's seen me, and that's kind of the funny thing it's kind of like every time I go to the comp now, it's like a meet and greet. And just meeting people live face to face, especially young Finn, who posts here as he's called a zip keeper or zip keeping. Now he's changed his name. Meeting Finn was great because he wanted my signature, he wanted my sign his hat, and cracked a few jokes together. It was really cool. But yeah, like seeing people who were inspired to start archery because of what I made available on the internet, that was probably the biggest satisfaction. I mean, shooting decently, sure. Getting excited for shooting again, definitely. Apart from wrestling today, I want to go back tomorrow and shoot. I want to do more events. I want to shoot more long distance because I felt really motivated. And again, the big part which I conquered was that anxiety of shooting long distance. When you don't do it for a long time, it's easy to fall into the trap or that rut of just shooting easy rounds or short distances and not pushing yourself. And I didn't really think of it as pushing myself. I've shot long distance before, but I make too big a deal out of it. And this time around, like, oh yeah, it's only 70 meters. I've done 70 meters before, and I shot decently. Nothing, no better, no worse. And for me, that's kind of like what I wanted to achieve. So that's what I got from it. Met great people, old faces and new faces. Met a lot of motivated people, people who wanted to do better. Interestingly, the I guess the NUSensei club is also the shoot better than NUSensei club. It's not hard to beat me, guys. It's not that hard. If you train and practice, you'll beat me easily. I don't train and practice, so that might change. Feeling more motivated. Spring is here now, so more daylight savings coming up. Monash Trophy, definitely. I'm gonna do that, definitely. I've already signed up for the Swinburne mental health charity shoot. That's at Moorabbin as well. That's on the 13th. I might pass on the 90-meter rounds. There's the Sherbrooke 1440 and the White Horse Trophy. I might pass on those. I'm not too interested in 90 meters. But I'm definitely keen on shooting more events, either in Werribee or at Moorabbin or Waverley, depending how I feel. But I'm really keen to do more shooting because it's in now. Our club is running some events now. We're launching a new club league. but I just want to shoot now, and I haven't felt this way for a long time. Because when you work yourself into a rut, you find reasons not to shoot. And the fact I've been doing this for 7 years, I mean, like most people should have quit by now, but I'm still in it. And that's kind of like my personal regret, is that I'm still hanging on to archery, even though, you know, by all expectations, I probably should have dropped the sport like years ago. But here I am, still making videos, still doing live streams, still shooting. And while I'm still filling out these numbers for the field, I really do feel like, I might not be a good archer or high scoring archer. Just like that hunger to shoot, I haven't felt for a long time. So I'll be trying to make the most of it over the next few days in my time off. I'll be making a few new videos and content talking about things, but I want to put a extra priority on my training, especially now it's good weather. I'm in relative good health now. I feel great about it, just physically and mentally. So big wins all around for people. So yeah, that's that's my reflection. I think I'm done. That was a nice insight. Great seeing everybody on the day. Again, people I've met before, as well as some new people who've been following me recently. But yeah, so it's like we all know each other. Like I see like once a year, once every 2 years, but we all know each other by now. Which is great. Okay, there were some questions. Question time, guys. You want some questions? We'll do that. I'll be taking questions for the archery Q&A soon. I just realized it's like the end of the month now, so I'll do that this weekend. So I'll be happy to do that. But let's take some questions. And there's like 2 of you watching me right now. But if there's any questions, we'll take those right now. So who is asking questions? We'll take the ones that were asked before. You might not be here anymore, but we'll go up and we'll see the people who are asking questions. So sorry, pack this before. War Thunder content. I do have the helicopter pack, but I'm not that interested. And they're changing the partnerships program. The problem is that they said this like 3 months ago, and I'm not getting access to the content that I need to cover more stuff. I mean, I can ask for it, but they're changing it, and I just don't know what's going on anymore. So if I can't get content the way I used to, I might not be covering more War Thunder content, because I don't play the game much anymore anyway. So that's I'll cover what I can, but I just don't find it very interesting to play helicopters. Let's see, Colonel Panic. My wife has some eye issues, so do I. When she draws a bow, she anchors to her right cheek, eyes facing forward, her sight pictures arrow tip off target to the right side. Is your wife left eye dominant? Because if the arrow is, if the head is straight, and you're anchoring to the cheek, and the arrow is facing to the right, that implies a left eye dominance. That could be the factor there. That's my first guess. Quite a few people do that. In fact, a lot of people actually tend to draw to their eye because they're left eye dominant. But my first impression is if the arrow is facing right, so if you're doing the right thing and you're facing that way, your left eye is taking over, alright? But could be wrong this one. That's my first impression. Otherwise, it's something you can easily fix. If it's not eye dominant, you can probably easily address it by simply changing your head position just a bit. Yeah. So maybe turn your head slightly the other way. If you turn too far that way, you might find yourself aligned the wrong way. So maybe turn the head slightly back. So not straight forward, but slightly in, head down. That normally helps. Kale Hayes, what should I do if I overextend my arm? Don't overextend it. Man, I haven't done this for ages. Man, live streams are fun. As in like your bow arm, I'm assuming. It's good to push out with the arm, but if you feel tension in your elbow, that's when you're overextending. Anything else is okay, but the elbow should not feel like you're stressing the elbow. You shouldn't go like that. That shouldn't be tense. That hurts. Don't do that. Push out, but try to counteract the overextension by pulling back a lot more. So try and get the shoulders and back working more so than your arm. That's what I extend. If you're hyperextending, if that's what you mean, then I don't have any advice for that other than just make sure your elbow rotation is correct. Some people shoot pretty well with high extended arm actually, but it's not going to be a huge problem. Matt Sean had a question before, so you had the problem your shoulder popping up, and your coach told you to pull the bottom of my shoulder blade to my stomach. Bottom of the shoulder blade to your stomach. I'm not sure how that works here. Shoulder blade is like back here. I kind of visualize this, by the way. What am I doing to fix my shoulder? What am I doing? Good question. I didn't have the shoulder problem this time around. This is a thing which I'll talk about in a future video, but I used to have a problem. It's very prominent in some practice videos where I will pop up very slightly. A lot of this is due to the fact that I lean back a bit, right? One of my upcoming video topics is something I call the aggressive shot process. And it's a mentality which I tried inadvertently with some Boy Scouts. And that is, you need to be a bit more aggressive in the way you shoot. People who tend to be a bit more submissive or less aggressive tend to lean back a bit. And both leaning back this way, head and shoulder pops up. So what I've told people was anchor under your chin, head down and shoot. And they normally shoot quite well with a couple of simple reminders. Anchor on the chin, head down and shoot. I think that helps a lot because when you head down, you naturally bring everything down. There are many ways to get your shoulder in line, but for my personal problem was I naturally tilt upwards to get the anchor point in, but I don't put my head down properly. So in trying to reach the same sight picture, I lift my shoulder up. So in putting my head down further, I drop my shoulder and get this up higher. So that's how I fix my problem. That's working quite decently too. So that's working for me. I'm not sure what your problem was, but the front shoulder is always a problem, and that's one of the biggest bugbears for most archers. Thank you, Fergus, by the way, from Argentina. I haven't done like microphone work or live streams for like a month, so it's nice coming back to do the whole mic work. And it's like 2 a.m, so I'm a little tired anyway, but still, it's nice doing this again. Ash noticed me. Yes, you've been noticed. Oh, you're good there. Matt Chauntery had a question before. What is Archer's Diary? What do you do with it? Archer's Diary is the official scoring app for Archery Australia. Basically, every club's on the system now. It acts as a national database, and it's also used for ranking purposes and in some cases state and national team selections. Those are application based, but it does take your scoring results from the database. Basically makes it easy to sign up. So it used to be that, for example, if I shoot at my club, if I go to a different club event, then there's a paper scorecard that gets lost in administration. It's a bit of a pain. Whereas now there's online electronic scoring, so that's all synchronized to one central national database. Makes it easier to score and compare. That's what it is. Spring is much better. Winter's miserable because bad weather shuts you down. The other thing is that there's less daylight. So the problem is that during the week my club runs to like, we have the afternoon book for the field, but you can't shoot past 5:30 p.m. because it gets too dark. Now it's getting dark at 6ish. And in 2 weeks' time, we'll get daylight savings reversed. So we're going to get back to normal time, I think. I'm not sure how it works. But we'll be getting sun until 7 p.m. And as we get towards summer, it should be light to 8 and 9 p.m. So that's a lot more shooting to do. Huge amount of shooting. You don't realize how bad it is when it's the middle of winter. We're lucky we don't have snow here. But just the daylight makes it so hard to train. I mean, you don't have an indoor facility. It's really hard to maintain frequency and arrow volume, which I'm talking about in a different video. Man, so many topics we haven't covered. Just like work's been taking so much time out of me. Got some new stuff coming up. Let's see. Sorry. Do you find different to shoot wearing contacts? I don't wear contacts, so I can't comment on that. Guillermo, if I draw the tip past my nose, like overdrawing to get the clicker by making consistent, is it bad? My general advice is whatever it takes for you to reach your process, do it. Coaches, instructors, they'll point out things which most people should do. But if you have a particular quirk which works for you, sure. We were talking about this with the archers yesterday at the shoot, and there are some people who like top level archers with certain idiosyncrasies which work for them, which you wouldn't teach somebody else. To give you an example, one quick one is you notice quite a few archers move their head before they anchor. They'll anchor in, and then they'll get their head just right, and then they shoot tens. And as an archer, you're taught don't move your head, never move your head. But you see top archers move their head to their anchor, and it works fine. So I would generally say it's not a good thing, but to say you shouldn't do it, as if I was your coach and I told you don't do that, I might be doing you a disservice. So I might be telling you the most optimal method, the most consistent method. But some people will still have that consistency using a different method. It may be inherently less consistent, but if that's what works for them better than trying to keep their head still, because some people can't actually do the whole scoop under jaw thing, because the jaw's the wrong shape, or the chin's the wrong shape. Some people need to go like that to get the right head position. Again, I do apologize for the camera. I don't want to replace the camera, but this is kind of bugging me right now. Sorry, I'm still here. I think I touched the string, the cable there. So yeah, some people really need to do this to get it right. And if you need to go past your nose to get the right anchor point and squeeze you to clicker, then do that. The only thing I'll probably say about that is that just be careful that you're not reversing your draw direction. If you're overdrawing slightly and then coming back in to anchor, then coming back, that's a little hard to get to because you're reversing the direction. There's more, you lose muscle control and back tension. That's what I would avoid. I'd definitely be happy with someone who shoots consistently with a small quirk or idiosyncrasy where you have to do some head movement. And I hate dealing with absolutes. Okay, a lot of internet commentators say, don't do that, don't do that. They've been taught one particular way. Doesn't mean it's the only way that works. Again, a lot of pro shooters and top shooters will do things which we don't teach, but works for them. So don't be stuck with, there has to be this way. If it's not working for you, then be honest with yourself. That's the only thing, that's the only caveat. You need to recognize that if your technique is unconventional, unorthodox, and it actually doesn't work, then you got to be honest. And again, sorry for the dropout. I might have to restart my computer later. I'm doing something weird here. Bing. Maybe I'm banging my table too hard. But that's my general advice: is if something doesn't quite work, then you need to be honest with yourself and properly recognize and diagnose that this alternate form, it might be causing a problem. So that's the only caveat. A lot of people will use I'm sorry about this, guys. A lot of people will use like personal touches and idiosyncrasies as an excuse to ignore good advice. Just be careful of that. Don't be the person who does it just to be different. Do it for a reason. Old powers. Sorry. Before that, Fergus, you've got astigmatism in your left eye. Can still shoot accurately. Yes. Yes, there's no reason why you can't do that. I know people who have this problem, and they have like corrective lenses, which they put on at night time. But yeah, you should still be able to do so. I mean, like again, some of the best archers, like one of the Korean archers, set the world record. Like, and he's legally blind. You know, has like a really narrow vision. So sure, you can do that. Old powers. Would you use the same shooting speed rhythm during training competition? The answer is ideally yes. you would use the same rhythm you would use in competition in practice. So rather than using your practice rhythm in competition, think of the competition as the end result and use that as a tempo for your practice. The problem is that in practice, especially when you shoot with other people, and especially when you're shooting with intermediate to beginner archers, people shoot way too damn quickly. It's something which actually boggles me, and it actually almost annoys me in club competitions, in club shoots, because people are waiting for you because you're taking your time, but they don't realize you've got 4 minutes to shoot 6 arrows. And it's actually something that's really bothering me. Not in a bad way, but it's almost comical where, especially when we have barebow shooters who shoot really quickly. But in general, you can take your time and you should take your time. I intentionally do so. Not to piss people off, but because I'm going to shoot poorly if I rush the shot. So take your time. That's completely fine. I personally shoot a little quick in competition because I want to save time for the later shots. What I did in the last competition was that I took like 20 seconds to start my first shot. So I spent more time to relax and settle before I shot. I then would shoot the next 3 or 4 arrows quite quickly, so about 10 seconds in between each arrow, rather than the 40 seconds or 20 seconds. And then I have like 70 seconds to spare for the last arrow. And sometimes I might have to let down. That's undesirable, but it does take time. You have to do some competition. But at this point, I think there's only one end where I burned the clock down to like 10 seconds. But I never felt pressured to shoot to the clock this time around. So I had much more control over my tempo, which is surprising. I normally stress out a lot. I get very anxious in the shot clock. Because I know I let down a lot. But considering, I think 2 things. One, I'm using a lower draw weight, and I was focusing more specifically on pushing through the shot, that I had fewer problems in setting up, and therefore it was less of a problem for me. So I shot to a pretty consistent rhythm, and I felt pretty good about that. So yeah, you want to maintain a rhythm, though. As I always say, you do what you need to do. If you need to take more time, then take more time. That's what I would advise. There was a question from, again, Mad Sean again. Do I use a shot trainer? I've got a shot trainer. Do I use it often? No, I don't. I would either do SPTs when I can. I don't normally use a shot trainer. I just don't have time for it. Excuses, but you know. Rez, what do you call the garter you practice with in some videos? That is, I'm not sure which garter you're talking about. You're using elastic rope. Which garter are you talking about? I'm not sure which. It's a shot trainer, I'm guessing you mean. The one I use is the Astro shot trainer. But I think that's what you're talking about, that. Chris, excellent. Glad you're enjoying the videos. I'll be doing my next Q&A next weekend. I think this weekend, next weekend, very soon. Really cool. Glad you're enjoying that. Creeper Gaming 12. I think we're getting recurve. Pros and cons. Compared to what? Bow, good. No bow, not good. If you compare it to compound, I've got a whole video on that. If you're comparing a recurve to something else, let me know what it is. I'll give you pros and cons. Without a reference point, then it's a little hard there. Let's see, Craig. Yeah, I only review stuff I get my hands on. We don't have many local shops, and the local shops that are around here don't need me. They've got their own followings, their own things. They don't need me. Funny things like I get international stores who send me product, or the actual manufacturers send me product. But I don't work with the local stores, not because of any reason, only because they don't need me. So I'd be kind of be crossing a line or kind of like, you know, blowing smoke on my ass saying, hey, I'm a really big deal, guys, let me go to your store. No, I don't think stores really appreciate that as much. So they can do their own promotions. I'm quite happy to review stuff people send to me. Like I said, other club members or volunteers to send me stuff. Otherwise, the companies themselves will send me free samples. The Chase Python being a good example of that. I've got a few more to do. If I can't get it, if the company will send me one, then I don't review it. I don't chase things around and ask for things because it's kind of selfish, honestly. It's kind of like, give me a bow, please. I don't want to do that. So whatever comes my way, I review. If I don't get it, then I don't get it. Yeah, by the way, I would like to. I'm very fond of promoting local businesses. I'm very happy working, especially starting out, people who are starting their own companies, selling accessories. I mean, for example, I've been working with Archer's Workshop in Sydney. They've been making stuff like weights, custom string walking finger tabs, which are 3D printed. So I've been trying these out. To help me out set up my bare bows, I've got like all these brass weights and I've got like some stainless steel ones coming in. So I've got tons of stuff. So I'm very open to working with companies and businesses and shops. But it's their prerogative, not mine. I don't chase people around. Like I'm resourceful with what I have. Anything extra, that's a bonus. But like I said, I don't try to capitalize to exploit on, you know, businesses to, you know, they have their own goals to do, goals to reach, and I'm not part of the business plan, so that's fine. Hello Trent from Canada, great. Again, you might want to a creeper recurve compound. Watch the video. There are in short, compound. It's a different mindset to recurve. Recurve, you earn the quality of your shot. So when you score a bullseye or 10 or a 9, you've earned that shot because you've had to do everything right from the ground up to get to the point where you can hit a goal consistently. A compound is set up so that you should be able to hit that 10 unless you do something wrong. So in terms of the shooter, recurve is you're working harder to get a result which you can't actually get because it's impossible to be that consistent. Compound is a perfect bow and you drop points. So recurve, you gain points. Compound, you lose points. And for some people, that mentality is the most important difference. People who expect to shoot excellent accuracy, precision, compound. If you want to enjoy the process and feeling of archery, recurve. That's the short version of it. Yes, Match. I actually do want to do HPI. I've been watching a lot of videos on HPI recently. Actually, I'm watching T90, Viper. It's funny seeing like there's still a pro gaming circuit. That's really cool to see. I don't play the game, but I definitely cover it. It's to be different because there's so many different elements of like factions or nations and techs. It's not gonna be like gameplay. It's more like I'll talk through the arch specific things and how it relates more so than anything else. So it'd be a kind of a weird episode, but it's kind of experimental. I don't hunt creeper. I think I missed something there. Any tips for not losing arrows? Shoot at a distance where you won't miss. That's the only thing I'd say. You can use things like bright arrow wraps and bright fletchings that can help, but yes, arrows will dig into the ground and they'll disappear. Funny enough, like yesterday or the day before, we were shooting at my field, and I found my X10 arrow. Now, X10s are expensive, they're like $40 an arrow, and I lost it 6 months ago. And we found it intact, in great condition after 6 months. Great, that's a good omen. I don't use it anymore, but the fact that I've got it back now, it's great. I've got a good set now. But yes, ideally shoot at a distance that you won't miss. That's the only advice I have for you. Hirsch, how should I avoid bending my bow when I shoot? So if you're shooting like this compressed, let's try it again. If you're shooting with a compressed arm, try to get angle right here. Push. Remind yourself to push your arm towards the target. If I was working with someone the other day, and there are we have some new instructors, which is great. Sometimes they forget to tell people to push the arm towards the target, so the people are focused on pulling back towards the jing here. They're going closer and closer in like this, and they don't realize they're doing this. Push towards the target. That should be part of your shot process. If someone hasn't taught you this, then this is what you need to know. You have to actually push towards the target, because people think of like a slingshot where you hold something and you pull it back, but you don't realize with a bow, the bow is actually pulling you forward. So people will pull back, but also let the bow pull themselves back in. You have to push out to avoid bending the arm. It's a push and pull. That's how you not bend the arm. Creeper, how to use a mechanical release on a compound bow. There are plenty of resources. Not sure you're asking there. Do I still use the Phoenix Seeker? I use the 2 now, actually. The Seeker 1 that I still have it, by the way. The reason why I stopped using the Seeker 1 is that I didn't like the triangular palm plate. I find that with my hand shape and the way I hold my the weight on the string on my fingers, I find that the palm plate digs into my palm too much. It's there to stop you doing that. I just find it uncomfortable. I find it too excessive. So I bought the version, the number 2, I think, which doesn't have the palm plate. And the 3 versions, the 1, 2, and 3, are specifically designed for different string placements, because some people would tend to bend their fingers, the palm a bit more than others. The 2 suits me a lot better. I don't use the pinky rest. I like it without it. I find it a bit too awkward to use. But I currently use the Seeker 2, not the Seeker 1. Great tab. I love it as it is. But I tend to avoid that the part that Vivi. Major Rizam. I don't know about prostitution in Australia. I'm the right person to ask here. Creeper, should I get accessories if you want them? Sure. To be accurate, accuracy is the user, precision is the tool. Depends on what your goals are. If you're trying to be a precision shooter, then you should get the right accessories. If you're trying to be a natural shooter and just let your skill do the talking, then don't get accessories. My only advice is don't fall into the trap of being one of those, the camp of, oh, there's only one kind of real archery, therefore I'm not going to use sights and stabilizers. You use a tool for your purpose. If you want to compete in archery and be a precision shooter, then get the right tools for it. If you want to shoot naturally, then don't get the tools for it. But don't don't judge people, and don't judge yourself for using the tools for the job. But remember, this is the internet, right? So we have a very heavy traditional archery purist bias, but objectively speaking, you use what is appropriate for the purpose you have it for. If you want to challenge yourself by not using the extra accessories, then don't do it. But if you want to shoot accurately, you don't need it. But that's what it is. It's the other thing is, as Frank mentioned, that shooting with sights illuminates some of the inconsistencies which can plague your development as an archer. It's hard to attribute what you've done wrong exactly when you have like 1,000 things which are wrong. By removing some variables, you can properly isolate which parts of your shooting need to be improved on. If you're hunting, then use sights. But again, it's up to you. If you want to guarantee, you want a high guarantee of accuracy, especially in a shorter time frame, then use shooting accessories. If you want a personal challenge, as long as you can guarantee an ethical kill, then you should challenge yourself. Don't rely on other people to tell you what to do. But that's a decision you make. If you want to shoot with sights, you shoot with sights. If you don't want to shoot with sights, don't shoot with sights. But yes, shooting with sights will generally allow you to be more accurate, more precise, and more consistent. Other long-term injuries or permanent injuries, which are caused by not using the arm guard? No. For the arm guard, no. All you do is slap yourself. So you get bruising if you do it really badly. Slapping yourself to string won't cause long-term injuries, as far as I know. Now, that said, repeated hits make... honestly, look, I'll say that I haven't heard of a case where someone has had long-term injuries from being constantly slapped. That said, bruising is internal bleeding. That's when your especially your capillaries have burst, right? That's why you have internal bleeding. I'd imagine after a while that there might not be a long-term injury. That's not good for you. Your body will repair itself, but that's also not good for you either. But no, I don't think there's any long-term damage or injury you get from slapping yourself. You shouldn't be slapping yourself, by the way. But yeah, that's not usual to do that. Okay, we've reached the end. That's our live stream. So thanks for joining me, people. Again, the whole point of this was to reflect on the tournament. And I really enjoyed myself. I wanted to do some more shooting. I'm planning to do more shooting today. I'm gonna go to sleep, wake up, do some other things, and head to the range. Hopefully, my toe doesn't hurt as much in the morning because I had some gout. Really didn't make the whole shooting that pleasurable, but there we go. And if you just joined us and you wanted more of the live stream action, there'll be a lot more of that. I've done plenty of videos, Crib, but you have seen my channel, right? You have seen my channel, right? If you ask me these questions. Yeah, so I'll be doing a few more live streams. I'll be doing a form check live stream either later today or perhaps later this week. I've got like 3 or 4 videos lined up. If you want to get a form check, send something in. I'll be doing a Q&A later this week, in the weekend. Apart from that, hopefully, I've got a few more ideas for videos lined up. I need to sit down and spend time planning them out first. I don't want to rush in and set a camera up and have nothing to talk about. There are several things I do want to talk about, some elements of the shot process, as well as some personal commentaries on shooting, but a lot of things coming up. So I'll be pretty packed with making content, hopefully. Now that it's spring, I've gone past a quiet winter season, should be a few more things to cover. And of course, more shooting. Anyway, thank you all for joining me. I know this has been a pretty weird time to live stream. Didn't announce this, but the next few months will be planned ahead of time. Again, thank you for joining me. Hopefully you found something helpful out of this live stream. And yes, I mean, it's been a while, but I'll see you next time.